just and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Selon nous, je report that the doors be open. Alors, statements by members, déclaration de députés.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. International Women's Day is not a day of celebration, Mr. Speaker. It's a day to fight, to stand up for what's right, for women's equality, because we still have a lot of work to do. In Quebec, the theme for International Women's Day, as chosen by the Collectif 8 Mars, is Limitless Equality. Limitless equality is a wonderful goal. It's a call to action, because there remain today too many limits and barriers to equality between women and men, far too many. Women make up half the population, and their voice must be heard in the democratic process. Democracy needs women, and women need democracy to change the systems that limit their success. So, today on International Women's Day, as we fight for women's rights, I say to all women, take your place, gain experience, make your voice and your ideas heard, and we will succeed with limitless equality together.
North.
Mr. Speaker, on February 14th, tragedy struck my riding of Brampton North. Jyoti Kabadia and Iftikhar Niazi lost their lives alongside their oldest daughter, Amina, after a fire engulfed their home while they slept. If not for the heroic act of one young man, another life could have been lost that day. Sheldon Teague, the 19-year-old basement tenant, heard the screams of the youngest daughter, Zoya, and rushed in to go save her. Sheldon, we know that you fought hard to save all of them, and you wish you had. But your bravery saved Zoya, and for that, you will forever be known as a true hero. Mr. Speaker, in order to avoid tragedies like this, I encourage all Canadians to check their smoke detectors regularly so that no lives are lost by fires. I ask members of this to join me in thanking Sheldon for his heroic act that day and for inspiring us all.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to rise on this day, International Women's Day, to highlight women in small businesses. In Canada, 47% of small and medium-sized enterprises are wholly or partly owned by women. As a former small business owner myself, I understand running a business requires dedication, hard work, and finding the right balance between business and family. We must continue to encourage and empower women of all ages to accomplish their goals. We also need to ensure that the right tools, mentorship, and opportunities are provided to guarantee the success of our small businesses. I hope this day reminds us that every day, women in Canada and around the world greatly impact our economies and communities for the better. We must ensure that all women have a chance to pursue their dreams. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Hamilton West and Castor Dundas.
Hamilton. Mr. Speaker, in February of 2014, Hamilton City Council passed a motion declaring itself a sanctuary city. Since then, Hamilton has opened up its arms and its resources to Syrian refugees. And I am very proud today, on International Women's Day, to share a success story with this House. And this has to do with 3 Syrian refugee women, Rawawa Al-Oliwi, Dalal Al-Zubi, and Menahel Al-Sharif. Mr. Speaker, for these women, English wasn't their first language, so they had to think of a way to communicate. And what better way, Mr. Speaker, than through food. Harem Kitchen was formed. Mr. Speaker, within 4 days they reached their first goal, and shortly after they had raised over $15,000. Months in, Mr. Speaker, the business is booming and they are cooking up a storm. Mr. Speaker, on International Women's Day, I'm here. I want to celebrate the success of these 3 entrepreneurial women and also celebrate my great beloved city, Hamilton, the sanctuary city. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. Today, for International Women's Day, at the initiative of Equal Voice, for a few hours today, the House of Commons was peopled exclusively by women, the daughters of the vote. But today, the seat belonging to my colleague from Newmarket Aurora was left empty. In a courageous gesture of protest to remind us of all the women who never reached their full potential or who had their political voice silenced by systemic violence, Arezou Najibzadeh chose to leave her seat empty. Thank you, Arezou, for reminding me that Canadian women earned the right to vote thanks to protest and not through silence. So, Mr. Speaker, today I am protesting as well, protesting the broken promises of this government, which could have taken measures to improve conditions for women through electoral reform and through pay equity. I protest on behalf of all Canadian women who count on us to effect change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Alfred Belin. Mr. Speaker, on this International Women's Day, as we call for limitless equality, I wish to salute the women who are my colleagues here in the House of Commons for their dedication to public service. I also highlight the incredible work done by my assistants and all the women who work on the Hill. And, of course, the women of my life, my mother, my sisters, and my wife, and, of course, all the volunteers in Alfred Belin. I also wish to continue to express my support for organizations like the Table de Concertation de Laval for the status of women, who do excellent work on behalf of women. I also salute all the young women, such as Alfred Belin's delegate to the Daughters of the Vote, who are fighting for equality every single day. I humbly believe that we, men, have a lot of work to do to catch up to Canadian women who are leading in all fields, and I hope that we will all continue to fight so that all women have the opportunity to succeed.
Shout out to Nathan Scuderi, young artist from my riding who designed this tie.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon Grasswood.
Mr. Speaker, it gives me great pleasure to rise today on International Women's Day to recognize 2 young women who live in my constituency of Saskatoon Grasswood, Mariah Hillis and Shekina Akhtar. Mariah, 4th-year University of Saskatchewan student who would like to pursue a career in social work, education, or law. She is a champion for disability rights and accessibility, and she volunteers in support of students with disabilities. Shekina, final year at the University of Saskatchewan, she's completing her Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering, passionate about preventive health care, the environment, and developing education and equal opportunity programs. Mariah and Shekina are in Ottawa today to participate in the Daughters of the Vote initiative, marking 100 years of federal suffrage for women. I congratulate these outstanding constituents who are our future leaders in Canada.
The Honourable Member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today as the first woman representative for Fundy Royal, the Dairy Centre of the Maritimes.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
On International Women's Day, I want to recognize the immense contribution that women have made and continue to make to agriculture in Canada. In fact, half of the new farmers in the Atlantic region are women. Bravo. I would also like to alert this House that next week is Agriculture Safety Week, which is why I proudly wear my Ag Safety ribbon today. I encourage all members to wear their ribbons next week to affirm their commitment to keep all Canadian farmers, farm families, and farm workers free from injury. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Parkdale High Park.
Mr. Speaker, every year on March 8th we celebrate International Women's Day, a day to recognize the profound contributions of women around the world and right here at home. On this day, I would like to recognize the Redwood Shelter, a centre for women fleeing domestic abuse and violence in my riding of Parkdale High Park. Abby Abijolade and her predecessor before her, Anne-Marie Gardner, have built up the Redwood over the past 24 years into one of the most pronounced voices in the campaign for to end domestic violence. Unfortunately, the very real need for their work continues, because the battle for gender equality and to bring to an end violence against women continues. That battle will not be won, Mr. Speaker, until Canadian men also take up the fight, side by side with their sisters, daughters, mothers, and partners. So on this International Women's Day, I call on all men in this chamber, men in my riding, and men around the country to join the important work of community pillars like the Redwood Shelter to bring to an end gender violence and abuse against women. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary Confederation.
Mr. Speaker, later today, Bill S-217, Wynn's Law, will come to a decisive vote. Members of this House will decide if the death of RCMP Constable David Wynn was in vain or if his death was a catalyst for meaningful change. Members will vote. They will decide if we are willing to lose another life or lives, or if we will take responsible steps to protect Canadians. Members will cast a vote to keep a flawed justice system or a vote to improve our justice system. We have the opportunity to honor the legacy of Constable David Wynn. We have the opportunity to make our streets safer. We have the opportunity to fix a loophole in our justice system. We have the opportunity to make a positive difference. I encourage all colleagues to seize that opportunity and support Bill S-217.
Honourable member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Mr. Speaker, today is International Women's Day, a time for us to reflect on the hard-won progress of women and their male allies toward real gender equality.
It's a unique privilege to represent a riding with such a wide range of feminists coming from diverse horizons.
Last week, I've had the honor of joining local women's organizations at the annual Ottawa Italian Women's Philo, the Ottawa Muslim Women's Organization, and the Somali Women's Circle Network. 2 days ago, we announced funding for Planned Parenthood Ottawa to combat sexual violence and reproductive coercion. And today, as part of Equal Voices Daughters of the Vote, we welcome young women from across Canada who are already community leaders. Je suis fière.
I am proud to represent women who are champions of equality. Happy International Women's Day.
Honourable member for Humber River Black Creek.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, organized labour has and continues to serve a crucial role in our society. From labour's earliest days fighting for safe working conditions, reasonable hours and decent pay, to more recent campaigns for improved pensions, job preservation and community betterment, unions give much to many. It is in this context that I rise to honour Joseph Mancinelli, the International VP and Regional Manager for Central and Eastern Canada for the Labourers International Union of North America. With Joseph's leadership, LIUNA has become one of the largest building trade unions, with some 150,000 Canadian members. These are families who contribute to Canada by working each day to build something we can all be proud of. I salute Joseph, his team, and organized labour across the country. Together, we are building better futures for the middle class and those who are working hard to join it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Because of every 100 incidents of sexual assault in Canada, only 6 are reported to police. Because 57% of Aboriginal women in Canada have been sexually assaulted. Because women workers in Canada earn an average of 67 cents for every dollar earned by men. Because 45% of Canadian companies have all-male boards and only 26% of the people in this chamber are women. Because in this decade, more than 140 million girls will become child brides. Because women are murdered in honor killings. Because women's sexuality is seen as something to be repressed, hidden, and punished. because thousands of Yazidi women are being held as sexual slaves in Iraq, because 500 million women around the world are malnourished, because menstrual stigma prevents millions of girls from going to school, because people deny that women's rights are fragile, because. We need International Women's Day, we need feminism, and most importantly, we need action.
Honourable member for Winnipeg South.
Mr. Speaker, as part of International Women's Day, it is our honour to welcome 338 extraordinary young women to the House of Commons. They are here to represent every federal riding in Canada as part of the Daughters of the Vote initiative. These young women are the future of Canada's democracy. Today, they are experiencing the thrill of taking a seat in this chamber for the very first time. They are also making a powerful statement, showing us that they belong here. Their ideas matter. They belong because gender equality matters, Mr. Speaker. Change doesn't happen overnight, but by being engaged day after day, it is possible to make a difference. And I have no doubt that these young women will continue using their energy, conviction, and commitment to drive Canada towards a more equal future for everyone. On International Women's Day, Mr. Speaker, that is something worth celebrating. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
After decades of marching, resisting, and persisting for equal rights, on International Women's Day, we see firsthand the women's movement is stronger than ever. Today, young women filled this House, a powerful show of new leadership. I honour especially Delegate Arzu Najibzadeh. She chose to leave her seat empty to represent the countless women who have been denied their political voice. We need all women's voices. We need all hands on deck for the challenges that Canada faces. Yet successive and Liberal governments have failed to act. It is far past time for the Liberals to live up to their feminist claims and get to work. We need action. For women and for future generations, New Democrats will never stop fighting for women's equality and human rights.
Bravo. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
International Women's Day, and Conservatives are celebrating the role of women in Canada's public life. We're encouraging the next generation of women and girls to reach even higher, and that's why we're so proud to welcome the 338 Daughters of the Vote into the House today. May Allah...
But...
In fact, Mr. Speaker, they are a little rowdier than question period usually is. May Allah...
But as we celebrate, we also need to look at the things that we can do to achieve equality between men and women.
We also reflect on the ways in which we can build confidence in Canada's judicial system. Too many women and girls do not come forward to pursue justice after being sexually assaulted. That's why I recently introduced the Judicial Accountability Through Sexual Assault Law Training Act, or the JUST Act, to improve the training of our judges in handling the most sensitive sexual assault cases. On
this International Women's Day, I invite all members of this House to join me to assure that this bill gets passed.
International Women's Day, Mr. Speaker, I'm inviting all members to join me in supporting this bill. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Vimy. Mr. Speaker, today we celebrate International Women's Day, which is an annual occasion to honor the contributions made by women to society and reminds us that we need to work tirelessly to achieve equality of the sexes. As member of the Standing Committee for the Status of Women, I had the privilege of speaking to the 338 delegates of Daughters of the Vote, where we discussed the progress made by pioneers of women's rights in Canada, and we discussed the importance of being leaders in the fight for women's rights and equality. Equality matters. The work done by community organizations, by Status of Women Canada, and by the Standing Committee is of capital importance. Equality is essential because an inclusive society that empowers women is more prosperous than a society that marginalizes women. I call on everyone to work together and to renew our commitment to equality. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions orales, oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, recently I tabled a bill that intends to reestablish trust in the judicial system when it comes to sexual assault. This bill intends to offer training to future judges and wants to ensure that a larger number of decisions are rendered in writing. Does the Prime Minister agree that we should all work together to pass this bill? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, every sexual assault survivor should be treated with compassion and respect, especially when going to try to get justice before the courts. I think it is very important to ensure that we are doing everything we can to protect and encourage these women and sometimes men to come forward and get justice after they have been assaulted. I am very pleased to say that we are going to be able to discuss this important issue because of the bill being tabled. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Last week, a Halifax taxi driver was acquitted of sexual assault charges. The circumstances are disturbing, and incredibly, the judge ruled that, quote, clearly a drunk can consent. Now, countless legal experts have pointed out the mistakes in this judgment. I've introduced a very common-sense bill to make sure that judges aren't making basic errors, or even worse, painful comments that make victims think twice of ever pursuing justice. Will the Prime Minister support moving my bill to committee this week and help restore confidence in our justice system for victims of sexual assault?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's important that survivors of sexual assault be treated with respect and compassion, particularly before the justice system when they're seeking justice. We need to make sure that we're doing a much better job than we are right now, and that's why I look forward for parliamentarians having an opportunity to discuss ways in which we're going to be able to improve it, including with the member's bill as it goes to committee.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Shelley Wynne is the widow of Constable David Wynne, who needlessly died because the justice system failed to protect him. His death was preventable. Now Shelley's in Ottawa today helping us fight to protect others. The Liberals have an opportunity to show Shelley that this will never happen again, and we implore those on the other side to see the good that they will do if they vote for this bill. Will the Prime Minister close this loophole that will save lives and vote in support Wynne's law today?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I was very pleased that Ms. McGuinness Wynne was able to sit down with the Justice Minister and have a very constructive conversation on how we can improve our system of bail, system of justice in this country. It's important that we keep our communities and families safe. It's important that we protect victims, and it's important as well that we uphold the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That's what we are remaining committed to, and we're going to continue to work hard on that.
Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, here in Canada and around the world, human traffickers physically and sexually exploit women and girls. It's a brutal and disgusting crime that deserves to be punished harshly. But when the Liberals introduced their human trafficking law, they weakened the punishments that could be handed out to these criminals. They crafted Bill C-38 to deliberately get rid of back-to-back sentencing for those convicted of multiple crimes of human trafficking. Mr. Speaker, why is the Prime Minister unwilling to get tough on human traffickers? And will he protect vulnerable women and girls by returning back-to-back sentencing to Canada's human trafficking laws?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government is extremely serious about cracking down on human trafficking, on protecting women and girls from exploitation, from assault. These are things that we take very, very seriously, and we'll continue to work very hard to ensure that more women and girls are protected. We also, Mr. Speaker, are the party of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and we will always stand up to defend Charter rights.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The rights of the criminal.
Well, Mr. Speaker, research has revealed that when a woman or girl is raped in our country, her chances of being believed or being able to pursue justice is highly inadequate. I volunteered at a rape crisis center, and one of the most difficult decisions that a woman makes is whether or not to go to the police. And we need to make that decision much easier. So will the Prime Minister commit to ensuring that RCMP frontline officers have the training that they need to give these women and girls confidence to pursue justice?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Like the member opposite, 25 years ago I worked at the Sexual Assault Centre of McGill Student Society, and I know firsthand how devastating sexual assault can be, and we need to do much more, even 25 years later, to make sure that we are fighting against it, that we are reducing it, and that we are creating a justice system and a system of policing that actually enables survivors of sexual assault to come forward and get justice. We still have much more work to do, but we are committed to doing that, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Nanaimo Ladyship.
know it's the federal government's job to eliminate gender inequality. Words are not enough. Women want concrete action, and we have waited far too long. Pay equity is a fundamental human right. Countries like Iceland not only made pay equity the law, but they're now demanding that corporations prove that they are not paying women less than men. Can the Prime Minister explain to the women of this country how much longer will they have to wait before you enact pay equity legislation?
I remind the honourable member to direct her comments to the chair, the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are committed to full pay equity, period. We know that there are many things that we need to do as a society to improve the outcomes for women and girls in our society. That's why we've moved forward on many different measures that will put more money in the pockets of women and families, make sure that our most vulnerable seniors, who are two-thirds of them women, we be able to be helped with an increase in the GIS. We continue to work very hard to empower women and girls to succeed in all areas of success. We know we have much more work to do, and we will do that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Margaux. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has repeatedly told us that he is a proud feminist and even voted for a motion saying that pay equity is a fundamental right. Unfortunately, his government is asking Canadian women to wait yet another year. But they have waited long enough to have their rights upheld. It has been 12 years since the Pay Equity Working Group published its report. Why is he refusing to uphold this fundamental right? And why is he not demanding pay equity now? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Canada is well aware of the advancements that we have made when it comes to pay equity and the work that we are doing to help women to succeed on the labour market. We know, however, that there is more work to be done, and I congratulate every organization and group that is continuing to demand that more actions be taken. We will continue to work hard to ensure that here in Canada, every woman has the same opportunities as any man. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Margaux. Mr. Speaker, everything is pointing to the government supporting our motion demanding tax fairness now. We know that actions are more important than good intentions. My question is a simple one. Will the Prime Minister tell us when he intends to table his plan to end penalty-free amnesty deals and renegotiate tax agreements with countries identified as tax havens? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we take tax evasion and avoidance very seriously. That's why we invested $444 million in the last budget so that the CRA can go and find fraudsters and counter tax evasion. That's what Canadians expect us to do, and that is what we will continue to do, and we will work hard to make sure it is done.
Once again, no answer from the Prime Minister. Let's try this again. The Canadian government is missing out on $9 billion in lost tax revenue every single year. Imagine what the government could properly fund with that money. We heard from women this morning about their priorities. Pharmacare, childcare. These could be realities, and all because the richest would simply be forced to pay their fair share. So two very clear questions for the Prime Minister. Will he vote in favour of the NDP motion on tax fairness? And will the Prime Minister end all penalty-free amnesty deals for tax evaders?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we take fiscal avoidance and tax dodging very seriously. This is why we put $440 million in last year's budget so the Canada Revenue Agency can go after tax frauds and tax cheats. We continue to understand that this is a priority for Canadians. It's a priority for us. Everyone needs to pay their fair share of taxes. That's exactly what we're ensuring happens.
Honourable member for Haldeman Norfolk.
Well, Mr. Speaker, under the previous Conservative government, we introduced a low-tax plan for seniors that removed over almost 400,000 of them from the tax rolls. As part of this plan, we increased the age amount tax credit by $2,000 for low and fixed-income seniors. Now, the Finance Minister has indicated that everything's on the table to bring in more revenue for this government to waste. Will the Finance Minister commit to not slash the age amount tax credit and instead protect our seniors?
The Honourable Minister for Social Development.
This opportunity to remind all members of this House of the important agenda that this government has followed in order to help vulnerable seniors, and all seniors in fact. We have decreased the age of eligibility to old age security from 67 to 65 years old, which means that 100,000 vulnerable seniors will not need to enter into severe poverty. We have also enhanced the Canada Pension Plan so that future generations of seniors will also be able to live decently and adequately.
The Honourable Member for Haldeman Norfolk.
Monsieur le Président, pendant la...
Mr. Speaker, during the election campaign, the Liberals promised a modest deficit of just $10 billion, a promise which they immediately broke. They also promised that they would not put an end to income splitting for seniors. We all know that the Liberals have always failed to deliver on their promises to Canadians. Will the Minister of Finance commit today to not eliminating income splitting for seniors? The Honourable Minister of Social Development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yet again, I am very pleased to have this opportunity to mention two other things that we have implemented over the last few months. We have increased the Guaranteed Income Supplement, which is to the benefit of 900,000 seniors in Canada, takes 13,000 of those seniors and gets them out of poverty, because it's an amount of up to $1,000 extra per senior. And we have also increased it by $200 million funding for housing to help many of seniors who are living in deplorable living conditions to have better access to housing and improve our society.
Mr. Speaker, 2016 was a difficult year for our small business owners. Their hiring credit was axed, their payroll taxes were increased, and they didn't get the tax cut the Liberals promised. Now, small businesses are being targeted by these Liberals for being too small. And the Prime Minister accused small businesses of existing solely to avoid tax. Will the Prime Minister finally listen to our entrepreneurs and cut their taxes in the upcoming budget?
Honourable Minister of Small Business and Tourism.
I appreciate the opportunity to rise in this House, especially on International Women's Day. And I wish everyone the best on this day, especially our women entrepreneurs. We know that this government has committed to making more opportunities for underrepresented groups. We are working better with entrepreneurs. We are listening and engaging with small business owners. We are speaking to their customers so that we can create the opportunities they need to create. The solutions that our small business owners have are not only good for Canada, but they are amazing for export markets. We will continue to open up those markets so that we can encourage our small business owners to export as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Lakeland.
Mr. Speaker, the Alberta Urban Municipalities Association says the Alberta government is breaking their agreement to flow $300 million of Building Canada funds to local municipal projects. Instead, it's going to pay down the Alberta NDP's out-of-control debt. The infrastructure minister keeps falsely repeating that this money is building infrastructure and creating jobs. Municipalities need infrastructure now. When will the minister tell the Premier this isn't a slush fund, and when will he finally stand up for communities in Alberta?
Honourable Minister of Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, through you, I would like to inform the honourable member that federal infrastructure dollars can only be used for infrastructure projects. We have approved 127 projects for Alberta. 125 of those projects are in municipalities of all sizes: Edmonton, Calgary, Red Deer, Grand Prairie, Lethbridge. All those projects are creating jobs and opportunities throughout the country, including in Alberta's communities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Mr. Speaker, for months, the Liberals have been quietly preparing to sell off Canada's airports and have refused to answer questions, but they've hired Credit Suisse to study the idea. Tonight, the Prime Minister is having an exclusive meeting with BlackRock, a meeting that the media has been banned from attending. It is clear that these Liberals have spent the credit card to the limit and are now selling off the furniture. Will the Transport Minister admit that he is selling our airports and tell us to whom he is selling them?
The Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, I want to reassure my colleague that what is most important for us is improving service to the air passenger. That is why we are working very hard to lower their costs, to give them more choices, more competition, to reduce the time it takes for them to go through security or through customs, and we will even be giving them a Bill of Rights. That is what is motivating us when we talk about our airports and our airlines. Thank you.
Order. Earlier today, I was able to compliment the Daughters of the Vote delegates on their decorum in the House, and they were occasionally rowdy in support of each other. But I would love to thank everyone here for the same kind of thing. However, let's all listen to the honourable member for Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. By not answering the question, the Liberals are just trying to hide the fact that the Finance Minister will put a big for sale sign on Canada's largest and most important airports. The Liberals' propensity for spending money they don't have is forcing them to have exclusive meetings with BlackRock to organize a shotgun sale of Canada's airports before the ink of the budget is even dry. Will the Minister commit to maintaining Canadian ownership of these strategic economic assets, or are the Liberals just that desperate for money?
Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, in terms of concrete measures, I'm sure my colleague heard the fact that we made the decision last November to increase the international ownership in our airlines from 25 to 49% in order to increase competition. I also announced at that time a Bill of Rights, or a rights regime, to make sure that air travelers, their rights would be taken into consideration. I think we're already beginning to see more competition. I think the prices are coming down. We're very glad that we're offering more service to our passengers. That's our intention, and we're going to continue to do that.
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, this evening, in honor of International Women's Rights Day, the Prime Minister is going to Toronto, where he will attend a private event with the Board of Directors for BlackRock. BlackRock manages more than $5,000 billion worth of assets throughout the world and is interested by the privatization of our public infrastructure proposed by the Liberals. Can the Prime Minister rise and tell us why, of all the events held on this Women's Day, he chose to spend time with an investment firm, and what will be the subject of this meeting? The Honourable Minister of Transport. I will repeat it in French, Mr. Speaker. Our primary motivation is to improve choices for air passengers. That's what motivates us the most. We want to lower costs. We want to offer more choice. We want to shorten the time it takes for travelers to get through security or to get through customs, and we want to recognize that passengers have rights. That's what motivates us when we talk about our airports and our airlines. It's to improve service for our passengers. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it seems that everything's for sale. Mr. Speaker, we all know that women do not have equal rights in Saudi Arabia. And yet, Canada is continuing to export arms to this country, as well as to other countries whose track record for human rights is extremely questionable, such as Libya. Canada is now the second largest arms exporter to the Middle East. Does the Minister of Foreign Affairs believe that Canada should export military material to countries that don't uphold women's rights? And are we now a nation of feminists? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Thank you for the question. On June 17th of last year, this government tabled the Treaty on Arms Trade, which the Conservative government did not do. We respect our commitment to Canadians to promote responsibility, transparency, and accountability. It is the right thing to do, and we will make changes, legislative changes, very shortly.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday when asked a serious question about his ethical lapses, the Prime Minister said that he will, quote, continue to demonstrate the kind of openness and transparency Canadians expect. So let's see if there's even an ounce of truth in that statement, because I'm going to ask a very direct, straightforward question to the Prime Minister. Let's see if he answers. Has the Prime Minister met with the Ethics Commissioner on the current investigation that she's conducting? And if so, how many times?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate once again the opportunity to rise in this House and to remind Canadians exactly what this government has been doing. This government has been responding to the very real challenges that Canadians are facing, and we will continue to advance and do that work. Historic investments on infrastructure to help provinces, territories, and municipalities create the opportunities and growth that they would like to create. Working better with families with children through the Canada Child Benefit. When it comes to the member's question, the member knows very well that the Prime Minister will answer any questions that the Commissioner has. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader. Order.
I asked the Prime Minister a direct question, Mr. Speaker, and he refused to answer it. That kind of arrogant, condescending non-answer is what's giving the Liberals a lot of problems, from their carbon tax cover-up to misleading BC seniors, and a Prime Minister under multiple investigations. Now, we know he's heading off today to have this private meeting with BlackRock executives. When's he going to start giving Canadians straightforward answers? Does he only meet with people who are lining his party's pockets?
The Honourable Government House Leader. Order.
Mr. Speaker, a historic day today in the House of Commons. 338 women took these seats, and you know who was available to them? The Prime Minister. The Prime Minister spoke to every single woman.
Order. Order. It's not the day for this. Most members in all parties are able to sit through a question period without reacting to what they hear and to wait their turn, whether their turn comes today or not. The Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's clear these Liberals don't care if they break the rules. First, the Prime Minister traded cash for access against the ethics rules. Then he broke the law when he boarded a private helicopter for a winter vacation. He's in trouble with the Ethics Commissioner, the Lobby Commissioner, and the Language Commissioner. His ministers are now taking their cue from him, and now we see the Innovation Minister misleading Canadians about Ombung insurance. Will the Prime Minister start following the rules and call on his ministers to do the same?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, every single minister and this Prime Minister work very hard for Canadians every single day. Every single member of Parliament, at least on this side of the House, works hard for their constituents every single day. I encourage every member to do the work that they were elected to do. I know that we can work better together. When it comes to the question that the honourable member poses, she knows very well that the Prime Minister will answer any questions that the Commissioner has. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. We know that members on all sides of the House work very hard. The Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect that their Prime Minister and their ministers behave with integrity. The Prime Minister continues to break his own rules, rules for ethics, and rules for dealing with lobbyists. Will the Prime Minister start to lead with integrity and tell his own cabinet and his own office to do the same?
The
Honourable Government House Leader. Canadians expect to have a government that works very hard for them. They are the people we work for every single day. That is why we cut taxes for the middle class, and that is why we are making historic investments in infrastructure. We will continue to work for all Canadians every single day, and I encourage the member to work with us to ensure that we can work better together. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Desnethi, Missinippi, Churchill River.
Missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls feel they are being left in the dark, when in fact they should be properly informed and involved in every step of the inquiry. And worse, Northern families do not have access to proper information due to unreliable internet and other crucial services. How will the Prime Minister ensure the commitment made to all Indigenous families affected by these tragedies are involved and feel like true progress is being made?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague for the question. One of the strongest commitments our government made was to launch an inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and we certainly have done that. We have set up an independent commission that is carrying out that process. But we know that we cannot wait for the Commission's recommendations before we act on the real root causes of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada. That's why we've invested $8.4 billion, historic investments in women, in shelters, in housing, in children's education, on First Nations and Indigenous communities.
The Honourable Member for Windsor-Tecumseh.
Network notes the rates of sexual, physical, and verbal violence across Canada are at least 3 times higher for young women and girls living with disabilities. And violence prevention agencies are simply not given the proper resources. Women with disabilities have been completely forgotten. On this International Women's Day, will this government commit to taking leadership to address the enormous gaps in violent prevention policy and program delivery for this vulnerable population?
Honourable Minister of Sport and Disabilities.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for her question and her tireless advocacy on behalf of Canadians with disabilities. I'd also like to thank the Disabled Women's Network for their advocacy, and Mr. Speaker, for pointing out that the majority of people living with disabilities are women, and among women in Canada, women with disabilities live with the highest rates of violence, the lowest incomes, and highest rates of unemployment. That's why I'm very proud of the work done by the current and former Ministers of Status of Women on Gender-Based Violence, drawing upon the work of Dawn, and also very proud of the accessibility legislation that we are developing to make sure that every Canadian with a disability is included in society. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Scarborough Centre.
Mr. Speaker, today is International Women's Day, a day to recognize women's achievements and acknowledge the challenges we continue to face. As an immigrant myself, I know how difficult it can be for minority women to integrate fully into Canadian society. While men are the first to go to work and attend language training, women are often isolated, staying at home to care for children without the language skills to venture outside. Could the Minister of Status of Women tell us what the government is doing to help these isolated women fully join the Canadian family?
Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, happy International Women's Day. I thank my colleague for Scarborough Centre for her question.
They were reminded that gender equality benefits our society and our economy. And we know that a barrier to gender equality is access to childcare services. That's why we've introduced the Canada Child Benefit Plan. That's why we're developing a framework for early learning and childcare. And that's why we're increasing funding for services like childminding to ensure refugee women can settle and integrate into our communities.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops Thompson Caribou.
Mr. Speaker, after discussing the deal at a Cash for Access fundraiser, the Prime Minister agreed to sell BC care facilities to a company Chinese with questionable ownership. Yesterday, a Chinese-language media asked me, was our concern about state-owned enterprises, to which we responded, you know what, we don't know who he sold their homes to. Is it Chinese billionaires? Is it the Chinese government? Or is it simply a friend? So we do want to ask again, whatever the answer is, it's unacceptable that he's not sharing it with Canadians who owns their homes.
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised again why the Conservative Party, in particular this member, is opposing global investment into Canada. We understand that we want investments into Canada to grow the economy, to create opportunities for Canadians, and to create jobs. This investment and this transaction was followed in the Investment Canada Act. We did our due diligence, we followed the process, and we determined it was an overall net economic benefit. That's the decision we made, Mr. Speaker, and that's why the British Columbia government and the Health Minister also provided the operating licenses for these retirement care facilities, which are managed and operated by Canadians for Canadians.
Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Mr. Speaker, seniors in my riding are writing and phoning my office every day. They want to know simply who is responsible for these facilities. If families and patients have complaints, it is lost in an accountability fog. They either don't know the answer or they know the answer and they're not willing to tell us. So if he won't stand up in this house and tell us who owns the homes, will he table the documents that were done in terms of their due diligence around ownership of en banc insurance?
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we've been very clear that we follow the process. We do our due diligence. Under the Investment Canada Act, there's clear criteria that's determined that any transaction has to be in our overall net economic benefit for us to proceed. We made that determination based on the facts. And the facts are that this particular transaction will provide additional resources to retirement concepts so they can expand and provide better services to seniors. They can expand and create more jobs, Mr. Speaker. This is good for the healthcare sector, this is good for the economy, and this is good for British Columbia.
Honourable Member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, the Innovation Minister claims to have done a review of the sell-off of seniors' care facilities in BC, but it is not capable of telling Canadians who owns Onbing Insurance. Not even Wall Street firms would do business with Onbing because of the murky ownership structure dominated by the who's who of the Chinese Communist Party. In the minister's pandering to Beijing, Canadians deserve to know who is pulling the strings and deciding the fate of our seniors. The question is simple. Who owns Onbing Insurance?
Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, our approach has been very straightforward. Our approach is about the economy and about the jobs. We care about our economy because we know that's the #1 priority Canadians have expressed to us. And part of that challenge is making sure that we attract investments to Canada. We believe in global investment. We believe in the opportunities that it presents to our businesses. And any decision under the Investment Canada Act is taken very seriously. We do our due diligence. We do our homework. We make sure we follow the process. And under the Investment Canada Act, this particular transaction was in the overall net economic benefit. That is why we approved the project.
Member for Elgin, Middlesex, London.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister continues to refuse to answer questions about his own lack of ethics. The Minister of Industry was forced to admit he misled Canadians about who these retirement residents have been sold to. Canadians don't want any more lies and a lack of transparency. When will the Prime Minister start to show leadership and put things in order? The Honourable Minister of Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister and this government has shown leadership when it comes to the economy. We understand that every decision that we make must focus on growth and jobs. We need to attract global investment if we are able to succeed globally, and if we are able to create the opportunities for Canadians, for women in particular, and for the youth going forward. That is why we're open to investment. And with regards to this particular transaction, we followed the process. We made sure that the retirement concept deal that was put forward is done in a manner that's in the overall net economic benefit for British Columbians and for Canadians. It's good for the economy and it's good for jobs.
Member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claims to be a feminist, but on International Women's Day is content to merely re-announce old promises. If equality truly matters to this government, it should fund women's reproductive health. The best way is to ensure all women have access to birth control. Such access reduces unintended pregnancy, abortion, is cost-saving, and a cornerstone to women's human rights. Will this government take a stand for women and support my motion to make birth control free for women in Canada?
Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, on International Women's Day, it's an honour to rise and be part of a government that speaks up for women's rights and speaks up for women's sexual and reproductive rights. And access to birth control is of fundamental importance to the women, to the families of Canada, to be able to control their bodies, to be able to control their reproductive rights. We will make sure that medication in this country is affordable, accessible, and appropriately prescribed, and that includes access to birth control.
Honourable Member for Hochelaga. The Council of Montreal Women recently published an opinion about women's homelessness. In Montreal, as everywhere in Canada, homelessness about women is on the uprise, but it remains hidden. This reality most often affects Aboriginal women or immigrant women. Homeless women are far more exposed to physical and sexual violence. The minister announced the establishment of an advisory board for the review of the homelessness partnership strategy. Will there be a gender-based analysis, and will the money be there to eradicate this scourge? The Honourable Minister, thank you. I would like to thank my colleague and congratulate her about her interest for homelessness, especially among women. Our department has announced $100 million to build shelters for victims of family violence. She knows because she counseled us in the past, and we thank her for that. We are looking into the strategy on housing, which will have major impacts on Canadian families, especially the most vulnerable. Mr. Speaker, we know that this month the funding received by many Syrian refugees for their settlement has expired. We also know that fewer than half of these refugees have managed to find a job. Does the government know how much the provinces will have to spend on social assistance benefits because the Liberals did not manage to provide a plan to help these refugees adequately integrate into Canada's economy?
Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, this year we're providing $900 million in settlement and resettlement funding to support refugee integration and settlement services. $664 million of that is settlement services, 76 million more outside of Quebec than in previous years. We're committed to supporting refugees as they arrive in Canada and making sure we provide them with language programs, job supports, and other integration programming as we move forward. We take that commitment seriously, and we have the proven track record to prove that.
L'honorable député de Calgary-Nose Hill.
The honourable member for Calgary-Nose.
The program was expensive and out of control costs. I asked if it got results.
Results.
The minister has failed to say is how many of these refugees have actually found jobs. And we've got a huge influx of refugees coming across the American border right now. We're going to see an influx of refugees coming in with the government's decision to lift the Mexican visa requirement. My question is very simple.
Unbelievable.
How much is this government going to pay in Canadian taxpayer dollars to support their ill-fated refugee
Simple
plan?
question.
Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, the international community has consistently praised Canada for its compassionate and responsible and generous refugee program. And we will take no lessons from the previous government on issues around refugees and immigrants. And in fact, on the Mexican visa lift, Mr. Speaker, we have gone a long way to rebuild and strengthen our bilateral relationship with Mexico that was damaged considerably by the previous government. We address risk associated with the Mexican visa lift. We work closely with Mexican officials, and tourism has gone up, other economic benefits have gone up, and we will continue to work to make sure that the visa lift is a success.
Order. The honourable member for Yorkton Melville.
Mr. Speaker, our allies in Australia, Britain, the US and Germany have all responded to the cries of their veterans regarding the severe impact that mefloquine is having on their lives. On Monday, Lieutenant General Romeo Dallaire testified that he has experienced the devastating effects of this drug. When he was asked if more studies should be done, he interrupted and said, "No, just get rid of it." Mr. Speaker, when will this Liberal government listen to the heart-wrenching testimony of veterans like General Romeo Dallaire and get rid of this harmful drug?
Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, we thank the House of
well-being of our Canadian Armed Forces members extremely seriously. We make every effort to protect our members from disease through immunization and other preventative measures. At the request of the Chief of Defence Staff, the Surgeon General is now looking into the use of mefloquine and will report back imminently. The military members' decision on malaria prevention is made on close consultation with their healthcare provider based on comprehensive medical screening and education. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Mille. On March 2nd, the Minister of International Development and the Francophonie stated, and I quote, "Sexual and reproductive health and rights are human rights. All women have the right to choose whether and when they want to have children and how many." On this, the 40th Annual International Women's Day, can the Minister inform the House of the government's commitment made today to promote equality of the sexes and put forth a feminist international agenda? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my colleague for Rivière-des-Mille to give me this opportunity to inform the House that this morning, with the Prime Minister, we had an opportunity to make a very important announcement. $650 million over 3 years will be invested in sexual and reproductive health and rights in fragile states, to provide sex education for girls and boys, family planning, access to contraception and abortion where legal, and defend women's rights, because human rights includes women's rights.
The Honourable Member for South Surrey White Rock.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the Liberals voted against releasing information regarding how much their carbon tax will cost Canadian households. As well, they have not included any information on what sectors will be exempted from the carbon tax. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister tell the House who will be exempted, and will they guarantee their national carbon tax will actually be revenue neutral?
Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very proud to stand up on International Women's Day as the first woman elected to Ottawa Centre. Women across Canada are strongly supportive of climate action. They understand that it's necessary to tackle climate change for their children, for their grandchildren, but also because it will mean good jobs for them in the future. We're committed to taking climate action. We're going to continue to move forward because it's the right thing to do, and I would encourage the party opposite to join us.
Honourable Member for Salaberry-sur-Roi. Mr. Speaker, the Minister for the Status of Women received a request from Justice Alternative du Sur-Roi for a project to come up with a safety net for young girls and women living with sexual exploitation. Out of 4,000 runaways in youth centres in Quebec, 76% are girls, 30% of which have been sexually exploited or exposed to prostitution. This project could avoid having hundreds of women subjected to sexual violence. So what is the Minister waiting for before giving this project the green light?
I thank my honourable colleague for her advocacy on behalf of women and girls in her communities and across Canada. Status of Women's Canada is committed to empowering organizations across the country to empower women and girls in their communities and to include men and boys. That's why last year we funded about 300 projects across the country to do that work. We will be introducing a gender-based violence strategy, the first federal strategy of its kind to address the challenges that too many women and girls in our communities face.
The Honourable Member for Toronto Danforth.
February 11th was International Day for Women and Girls in Science, when we celebrated scientists like Dr. Roberta Bondar, Dr. Victoria Caspi, and Barbara Sherwood Lawler from my riding, who was named Companion to the Order of Canada for her contributions to geochemistry. That day, I attended an event with the Minister of Science, the Minister for the Status of Women, the CEO of ACTWA, and women scientists, who discussed the importance of getting young girls engaged in science and how to keep women in STEM. Can the Minister of Science tell the House what our government is doing to encourage women to study science?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to increasing the representation of women in STEM fields. In a competitive, globalized economy, Canada cannot afford to leave half its talent on the sidelines. I am delighted to launch a digital campaign to encourage young women to #ChooseScience. As a former scientist and as Minister of Science, I consider it part of my responsibility to encourage young women to enter careers in STEM. Science needs women. We need their voices. We need their insights.
Hear, hear. Honourable member for Lethbridge.
Mr. Speaker, our men and women on the ground and in the air serving in Operation Impact are still in the dark when it comes to whether or not the Liberals plan to pay or cut their danger pay. The deadline is fast approaching, and 300 more members of the Canadian Armed Forces may have their pay completely cut by this minister. On multiple occasions, the previous Conservative ministers in this role reversed bureaucratic decisions that looked similar to this. Will the minister commit here and now to follow our example and ensure that full pay is given to our brave men and women in uniform?
Yeah. Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to making sure our men and women have all the right benefits. I've directed the Chief of Defence Staff to look into this matter, and I'd also like to correct the member in terms of about the previous government's action on this. They actually send the troops into Kuwait without the tax-free allowance. This is something that we had taken up. And there were rules that were placed in in 2014 that resulted in some of the inequities that we see right now. And that's the reason why we're looking into this matter, so we can solve this issue, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In addition to this being International Women's Day, it's also a deadline for the Minister of Health for comments on the federal framework on Lyme disease. This has been brought into place by the bill that was in the 41st Parliament that I submitted, unanimously supported in the House and in the Senate, and continues to be strongly supported by members on all sides of this place. Unfortunately, the draft framework is inadequate. It needs a serious overhaul. Can the Prime Minister assure us that time that's necessary will be taken to improve this framework?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member from Saanich Gulf Islands for her fantastic work on this very important topic, and for, indeed, members from all parties who have been advocating on behalf of people who have been victims of Lyme disease. In fact, I look forward to continuing to work with the member on making sure that we have a strong framework which recognizes the federal role in this, and that includes building national surveillance and annual reporting. It includes making sure there's adequate research. It includes improving the guidelines for prevention and treatment of Lyme disease, and it includes making sure that we raise awareness and education around how to prevent Lyme disease, and I thank her for her work.
This will conclude question period for today. Order. I encourage members to take their discussions into the lobbies, and I would invite members to join me, help me out by saying shh. I thank honourable colleagues. Tabling of documents. Introduction of government bills. Ms. Wilson-Raybould, seconded by Monsieur Duclos, moves for leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Criminal Code, Unconstitutional Provisions, and to make consequential amendments to other acts. This motion is deemed adopted. Ms. Wilson-Raybould, seconded by Mr. Duclos, moves the bill be now read a first time and be printed. This motion is deemed adopted.
First reading of this bill, première lecture de ce projet de loi.
When shall the bill be read a second time? At the next sitting of the House.
Statements by ministers. Reports from interparliamentary delegations. The Honourable Member for Sackville, Preston, Chesapeake. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 34.1, I have the honor to table, in both official languages, the report of the Canadian Parliamentary Delegation to La Francophonie concerning its participation in the meeting of the Political Committee of the APF in New York, United States of America, on April 11th to 13th, 2016. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Presenting reports from from committees. The Honourable Member from Miramichi, Grand Lakes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have the honour to table in both official languages the fifth report